So I think you have mentioned about you have some questions about how to build in using annotations and how to use a CDS use with AMDP approach, etc. Right?
Yes,
Uh,
sir.
yes. So I'll just clarify. So before getting into that space, so let's see the quick overview of how the
Yes,
course
yes,
content generally I deal with, like how we are generally having it.
yes,
So if you already see, as you are already coming with SAP background, so certain people have, we're pretty much new to SAP ecosystem. Then we focus on the first week to bridge the gap to understand both SAP as well as to understand about web technologies.
right.
So web technologies is completely different game with existing SAP ecosystem. Why it's a different ball game is you have outside open source developers as well as lots of other technologies available, and SAP is adopting a dual approach. If you see, as on date, all the cloud products are generating more revenue than the on-premise. On-premise existing is bread and butter for SAP, but SAP has acquired Ariba, Concur, SuccessFactors, Fieldglass, and it has lots of suite of products in the cloud space, and they are actually generating newer streams of revenue. And and all those products are not built on SAP platform. When I say SAP platform, they use different technologies. They could be using Java technology, they could be using any other outside frameworks, open source frameworks, etc. So to deal with new age products which SAP has acquired, and to deal with existing integrations, see, you have, if you're acquiring new products, then you need to support with all existing SAP solutions also, right? So here the need for multiple streams of technologies bridging the gap, etc., came into picture. There exactly our evaluation of Fiori, where it's a web technology which meets both the needs. So that is one part of it. But SAP recently it has used newer approaches. One is RESTful application programming model and cloud application programming model. So these are newer platforms to bridge the gap of ever needing increasing demand for building applications in cloud stack. So if we have to build for the SAP system or S4 HANA system or ERP, so pretty much all we need is ABAP as well as UFF Fiori. If we have these things, existing customer scenarios can be dealt with. Okay, so this is how. So to understand which technologies are going to sustain which technologies, we have to invest our skills, etc. So we have a mixed approach based on how we have, etc. Okay, talking about the course. So this is how the direction is now right now. So overall technology space direction in SAP,
Mhm.
and mostly every day we'll have more of the practical approach. If these sessions are meant for more of practically practicing and trying to build, at the end of the session you should be able to, every day you should be able to, will practice some practical implementations, and same day you should be able to practice those concepts. And more in the week one we have more of a theory with a quick introduction of practical, but from the second week onwards we'll have more on theoretical part would be drastically will have a quite balance. If we're not familiar with those concepts, we'll try to bridge those gap, but we'll focus more on building the concepts in practical as such. So this would be about theory practical kind of session. So every day Monday to Friday 1 hour we'll work on various concepts. And objective of it is like how I suggest is I recommend GitHub. So in the GitHub, so for all the week sessions, generally on the week one we talk about the fundamentals of web development. If you are familiar with HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and UFA already, then this is like optional area where you, whether you wanted to deal with it or not, it's fine. But if you want to know about web technology, if you do not have the basics ready, then this is very much essential. So it's an optional way. If we want to have it, you can go with, or we can customize accordingly, right? So in the week two, mostly I'll talk about both on-premise and cloud. How exactly the Fiori administration, or how exactly we configure, whether it is SAP Fiori standard Fiori apps customer would like to have access to it, or whether on-premise custom solutions altogether. So a big mixed approach is how do we deploy, how do we configure, how do we manage the complete SAP Fiori ecosystem. So we'll talk about in the week two more about deployment essentials. In the week three, primarily we'll target on building at least two real-time projects. So our goal of this course is you should be able to have at least in your resume live working examples which you should be able to put in GitHub, and that should be your reference for any future projects. So any future projects if you're working on, then you should use this as a this repository as a reference for your future developments. So best practices using which how we can build applications, and at least we'll try to take any two random use cases, and we'll try to build two real-time projects in week 3 and week 4. And advanced concepts like machine learning, how do we build in UFI applications, and how do we barcodes, etc., QR scanners. So new age and custom applications, how do we build, etc. So those all advanced concepts and programming best practices, etc., we'll try to cover in the week 5 and subsequent classes. So if we are able to quickly pace out in these concepts, etc., then we'll concentrate more on advanced topics, or we'll brush up and we'll try to concentrate more on building, or practically these sessions objective is after going out you should be able to confidently build some UFI applications. That's the whole motto of this 45-day session. Okay, once we achieve that, then further any additional concepts, etc., we'll try to dig deep into it. So this is about in short way. So all the exercises, code snippets will be every day in the daily folder. Concepts what are we discussing, I'll give quick references of it, as well as the content to practice also, what to practice also I'll suggest. And week 1, week 2, week 3, this is how I'll organize the structure, folder structure, and everything. And I recommend in 3 phases, like beginner, intermediate, advanced kind of will break up. And every day whatever we are practicing we'll try to push into GitHub, so you'll have everyday tracking for yourself, as well as all the code which I demonstrate will be hosted central here. You can access and you can practice directly every day. So this is how the content would be. And if you are already familiar, then I can just go into the session, or so far any questions, etc., regarding course, etc., or any other concerns.
Okay, means this course morely in front end part, like it's not more in back end like OData, right?
Yes. So we'll focus more on all the development approaches in front end, and we'll see all the how do we access, etc. So even every concepts, how whatever way we are generating OData services we are generating through SDW, or you're generating through XSO that you're using, or CDS views you're using, whichever approach you're using it, all types of building and everything we'll see. And even annotations as well, we'll cover everything, building the application using annotations, everything. But we'll
Like
not, this course is not about building the backend stuff. It's about
oh,
all about
front end
building
part.
the front end applications.
So it is using also Fiori elements as well.
Yes.
Okay, and I seen your YouTube video. There is a DevOps concept as well. So it is also covering this.
Yes. So DevOps, as a see, there are like lots of parameters in oral. Okay, I'll give you a quick
Okay.
uh, snapshot where you'll understand. So specifically, this is how the direction is. So if you look at the whole summary of it, so game of Fiori UFA has changed a lot in the recent past. So from last 6 months, so far Fiori development used to happen in Eclipse based tools. Now SCP has tied up with Microsoft, and they are going towards Visual Studio Code. So advantage with Visual Studio Code is it supports lots of other programming language. If you want to build in React.js, you want to build in Java, you can build, and IDE, etc., everything supports. So for that purpose, so they introduced Business Application Studio, and from last 2 months back, they have stopped the support for WebID, and all the new, it's like next version of WebID is SAP Business Application Studio. So here, if you wanted to build full stack applications, as on date, there are like not many tools available. I think in going forward in the next 6 months, end-to-end full stack development will be supported in Business Application Studio. Why I'm saying this is, so the way you build Fiori applications is also changed. If you are already working on any existing project, and if you're working in Eclipse or any WebID based projects, those approaches are no longer available, and everything that has changed. And second, for rapid development, Fiori elements, previously it used to be called as smart controls, etc. Now Fiori elements are like annotation CDS based approach. So how do we build applications quickly relatively? So for that, SAP has given standard Fiori elements approach. So we'll understand how to deal with Fiori elements approach, and the overview page which you have seen, or if you're familiar. So all those are based on CDS use based Fiori elements. So how do we master and build those scenarios, etc. So those are all part of Fiori elements. And in the backend space, specifically where you are more interested. So SCGW is on-premise model. When I say on-premise model, you cannot build any of the OData service in the cloud. But UFA, you have both options. So you can either locally, if you want to develop applications, you can develop. In the cloud, you want to develop, you can develop. For the to bridge the gap of building OData service in the cloud, SAP has introduced rapid OData service development using RESTful application programming and cloud application programming. So these two are the new areas. Even these are available from quite long, but from last 6 months, lots of innovations have happened in this space. Specific to S4 HANA customers, if you are in S4 HANA customer, then RESTful application programming model is a go-to model. The one CDS use or BOPF model or ABAP managed program storage procedure model, AMDP approach, all are got a further boost up. So RESTful application covers newer approaches. It is available from 1909. So S4 HANA 1909 onwards, if you are wanting to build CDS use, etc., you have to follow RAP approach. Okay, so this is meant for S4 HANA. So it's if you are still on old regular CDS views, etc., still works. And like I said, if you are building an application for the cloud, Ariba, etc., then CAP model is the one we have to use to build OData services. So cloud application programming model is a one where we use. So these two are like in the cloud. If you want to build OData services, these two are the technologies you have to use. And if you're high on premise, then SCGW using which gateway service building is a go-to approach. So based on the SAP ecosystem you have, so if you are still running on ERP, not on S4 HANA, then SCGW, etc. platforms are very much sufficient. But these are something new SAP has introduced and they're still evolving. So, and in this, why we don't deal with all end-to-end as such is even mobile development as well as for the machine learning, something SAP has introduced called Copilot. So Copilot, where it's for developers as of now they cannot do anything. It's completely in-house. But there is one more conversational AI kind of like using Copilot itself. It's like smartest, like how we have Siri, Cortana, etc. It's a chatbot SAP provides. Directly we can approve or certain use cases. As of now, only few Fiori apps support Copilot, not all. So SAP's plan is to move on to building Copilot capabilities for all the Fiori apps. So that is it's too long game. But so these all are development environments which will come in the front end stack. So there are like different technologies we use. And if you want to build exclusively on the iOS specific, customer requires that, sir, I don't want to access in the browser. I want to have a standard application like how in iOS I want a native app. Then we have something called mobile MDKs. So there is specific for iOS and Android as well platform. So there are like these are the areas where we touch upon generally. So this is about technologies which are trending and which are active in SAP space right now in 2021. So whatever you have already seen are all deprecated. If you are already working in Eclipse or etc. So those all are SAP has put back forward. And in Fiori 3, there are like it's not yet released into the market. Fiori 3, lots of more innovations are coming in space, and that will give us some more scope on where exactly we have to focus our skills, etc. And if you these new approaches are CAP and ABAP are in Open SAP, so there are like introductory sessions as such. So this is I think screenshot which will tell you like the one you are trying to look at is for ABAP platforms greater than 7.5. SAP terms them as use this CDS approach or CGW based approach for generating and building Fiori elements applications. So but the new approach is both are still relevant. So both are still relevant. So if you are building now in this, SAP is going to release some more add-ons using which you have to migrate to RAP approach. in pretty soon. It's not yet available, the add-on, but if you're building in this, again, you have to migrate to RAP approach. From 1909 onwards, this is the newest approach for building OData services. So you're clear with, I mean, how the
Yes, yes, it's
front
clear.
end and back end
Yes, yes, yes.
is evolving.
Yeah, yeah, I understand.
Yeah. So this is about cap model. Why I'm specifying is now SAP. If any customer you're using it, they might be interested in, if they are in from HR module, they might be interested in success factors as well as existing S4 HANA HR implementation as well. So then cloud application program will bridge that gap. If you're building application in any of the platform, whether using native HANA, SAP HANA you are using, that we call it as XSA, or you're using cloud, specifically Cloud Foundry. Now they branded as business technology platform, or using Java platform, or you're using CDS user Node.js, whatever platform you're using, cloud application programming model is the go-to approach. There you have all the tools and it supports every programming language. So you're building an UI in SAP Fiori or building an AngularJS, you can use the approach in cap, using cap approach. If you're building CDS use, then you can consume those services in Fiori application, Angular, Java, every application you can consume. That is the advantage of cap model. So cap model allows to develop applications for the cloud. So if you're using any technology, so if you're building any application in any technology, then this supports. There are limitations which SAP supports as on date, but most of the open source technologies currently SAP is supporting it. So they are gradually adding other technology support. But future direction looks towards these two areas because they allow you to access the whole SAP data as well as non-SAP systems like SuccessFactors, Ariba, etc. So all kinds of database data using which we should have a programming model to build application on top of them. So that is the objective of SAP. So if we are existingly in ABAP area and we are still only focusing S4 HANA, then we need to understand how to bridge the gap. So there we actually need to invest our time and energy in understanding what are the new technologies, where do we upskill, so that, because this is evolving process. I'm not saying that today customers are asking to you to build on the cloud, because cloud still has plenty of time for its evolution. But our skills, whatever we are acquiring all the time, uh, we have to stay relevant in the market. So one quick way we have is, now already we are familiar. SAP ERP, it was supposed to end in 2023. It was extended till 2030 now. So till 2030, all existing customers, they need not to migrate to S4 HANA. They can still stay on this for till 2030. SAP officially has announced and it's going to support till 2030. So no issues. Customers need not to move on to S4 HANA. But S4 HANA being introduced in 2015, it's not still, it's still a work in progress if you ask me, because most of the modules, certain modules which are SAP either asks them to look for some other areas in S4 HANA, or only this S4 HANA core is available, and not all use cases are retrofit. They are either retrofitted or if new customers they are opting S4 HANA, it's fine. But customers who are already in SAP ERP, they have lots of work to do, deal with migrating to S4 HANA, etc. This itself is a challenging task. It takes at least 2-3 years of implementations for based on the size of the customer. So this area itself is still, customers are trying to understand to deal with this all the obstacles. So it is pretty much by 2025 we might see most of the customers trying to move, because they won't wait till until SAP officially stops the support for ERP. So business customers, definitely the traction of customers moving, inflow of more customers moving from ERP to S4 HANA will be drastic. And alongside adoption of cloud-based products, integration also will increase gradually, exponentially. So when this stage comes, we need to be ready with our skills to meet the demands of both customer. If customer wants, sir, I have a use case, I'm on S4 HANA, can you build me a solution? So will come with a problem statement, whatever the problem statement. So we should be equipped with the skills to build a solution on top of it. So are we ready to build skills? Are we ready with the skills? So this is a question which comes with S4 HANA as we move forward. And comes the problem of statement with, sir, I have certain data scenarios which reside in S4 HANA, and I have certain users which are using cloud. Now we have data residing in both the ends. So we have a mixed scenario. Can we build a solution which meets both the people? Maybe certain people are using S4 HANA system and certain people are using a cloud solution. So if they ask for a mixed scenario, can we build a solution? Is a we need to try to understand. So these are the areas where SAP is trying to push itself, and we should be able to bridge this gap. Okay. So having said this, so I'll just go back to our outline as such. So this is how the scenarios are changing in SAP space. But I'll just go back to all our. So let's understand first of all. So we talked about all the technologies, but this course is about Fiori, right? So where Fiori lies and how long and how can we use to bridge all these scenarios? So to bridge all the cloud scenarios, etc., whether SAP solves the problem or not, let's see and understand. Quick overview is like we are already familiar. Actually, you are also familiar. So we have seen the journey of SAP. So the screen flow was, like Windows NT, etc. Only command prompts, etc. used to be there. And 91 onwards, web intro technology, was doing inroads in SAP. And then we saw the T codes based, all the classic GUIs, etc. And during 2000s, the same web intro screens are now, accessible to because of the internet bubble, etc. All you are seeing web UIs instead of classic UIs. We were started seeing web UIs in HTML and web UI in Java, etc. So all the web UIs came into picture. So this is where the progress happened from 91 to 2000. And between 2000 to 2000, 5, around SAP ERP, etc. was became widely started coming to inroads, and it started widely got adopted across. And until 2015, S4 HANA, when it was introduced, so that was the whole ball game. But the game changed around in 2010, where inflow of smartphones, tablets, etc. came into picture. Where SAP business always the technology being used to support only desktop scenarios. If you see classic UIs, it works on desktop. And if you want to have any solution, because business users started using iPhones, they had compelling use cases to access on the go the some of the business use cases, and there is no technology to bridge this gap. There came SAP Fiori, where exactly they were trying to say, uh, if we try to build the same solution multiple times to multiple environments, it delays the amount of development time. See, if you have to build a solution on web info and then you have to build a solution on native mobile applications, you're actually losing lots of time and effort. You have to replicate all your use cases once again. So to bridge this gap, what they came up with, SAP Fiori. SAP Fiori is based on HTML5 and JavaScript. So what this does is it runs on browser. So if you build once, you can run it on any platform or any device. Added to it, it is responsive. Responsive, when I say, if you're using the same application in mobile, it automatically adapts to your available screen space. So that we call it as responsive behavior. So it is giving twin advantages. So this advantage helped SAP to bridge the gap. Now, if customer asks, sir, I need a solution which works on any platform or any device, then this is the answer. So if you're building a solution, you can run on desktop as well as you can run on native iOS as well, or you want to any operating system also it supports. So because it's running on browser, you do not have any dependence of operating system or a device. So that's how SAP Fiori solved the problem of evolving business use cases in mixed environments. So now the problem in 2020 is different. We have Cortana, we have Siri, we have Smart, we have AI. So SAP is struggling to bridge the gap of providing intelligent apps. So in Fiori 3.0, SAP is trying to solve the gap of intelligent use cases. How you can make your apps smarter, how you can use your smart assistants, etc. So for that capabilities, they are trying to bring in new tools, etc. But even that is evolving, that is not very mature. And as on 2020, the focus area is not on building applications on the mobile or devices, but building smart apps is a problem on hand. So in Fiori space, if you see a quick understanding of what is Fiori 1.0, what is 2.0, and what is 3.0. So in actually Fiori journey, just like I said, it started with smartphones, etc. So in 2013 around, there were hardly 20 to 30 applications. So there lots of changes happened also. They initially supported HTML based development, then they moved on to deprecated it, then say no, we'll start building with XML views, because XML views are the one which helps us to build new controls. If you want to build, as of now, if you ask me, back then there were hardly 100 controls. Now today we have 850 controls in UFI exclusively to build any use case. Even that control set is evolving. So that strategy was to use XML. By using XML and JavaScript combination, you can build your own controls. If you want to build your own control, even as a developer, we can build our own control. That flexibility is provided in SAP Fiori. So, so this evolution started in 2013, but it was very beginning. And initially, SAP Fiori also had a license, so customers were reluctant to adopt Fiori. Then SAP has understood that unless it gives it for free of cost, customers are not going to push this particular stack. Then they what they came up is they said if you are having NetWeaver stack of 7.5, then you have Fiori as available as free of cost. Free of cost in the sense, if you're having SAP license and your network stack is 7.5, then you can consume all the Fiori apps without any additional license. And that changed the game. So I was getting lots of customer requests for demos. So they are asking, say, what is SAP Fiori, sir? What can we have a quick demo? So people were asking for questions, but nobody is adopting actually. So that was a transition phase in around 2015 as such. Okay, so till then people were like some kind of POCs are going on certain one or two applications, but there's no active implementing, or there's no active use cases. So there are like on and off, like pretty much small use cases which are optional. Customers are not very much interested, but they just wanted to give it a try. So those kind of scenarios were there back in. But things got improved and it got mainstream. With S4HANA introduction in 2015, SAP made a bold move. They said all the use cases, anything if you want to build, by default comes with SAP Fiori pack. So all the S4HANA apps, new apps, etc., anything user has to build or anything they are building, they said that SAP Fiori is the go-to UI technology. So we have all the old technologies as well, but the go-to technology is SAP Fiori when it comes to S4HANA. So that's how they made it, for the new phase for S4HANA, they have introduced the so-called Fiori 2.0, and there came the gradually in around 2017, etc. They brought in native iOS. So if you want to see, these are like traditional way of building applications. All the Fiori apps, S4HANA apps, which SAP shipped, can be accessed on browser. That we called as traditional Fiori apps. And if you want to have point-to-point solutions, when I say point-to-point solutions, like for specific to Android OS or specific to uh, iOS platform, then we have native library using which if we build an application, then they can be exclusively accessed for those devices. So this gives additional flexibility, like if you want to use camera capabilities, you want to use calling option, etc., or you want to scan QR codes, barcodes, etc. So there are like some point-to-point solutions which can be built exclusively using native features. So those native features to leverage this native development will be useful. Along the same side, the co-pilot, which I called, it started its journey conversational. They are calling it as conversational AI, etc. Back then, it was just a chatbot. Now they introduced AI capabilities also into conversational AI. It's still maturing. It's not very much stable product as such, but only hardly few use cases they are trying to push with Copilot right now. I think based on version which we can try even Copilot features as well. iOS native libraries are very much stable. Even the traditional SAP Fiori are all very much stable, and all kinds of solutions can be built. Right. So now where exactly the Fiori 3 stands is like in Fiori 3, the problem has, like I said, the problem was now SAP acquired cloud products. All the cloud products are having different entry points, and SAP try to solve one more problem. Like you are using T codes, and there is a like overflow of flow. So if user is using different, see, multiple users are using different kinds of T codes, and they are using lots of unwanted data as well on their user flow, etc. In Fiori, they are trying to use a tile-based approach where each problem, see, if you are as a HR employee or a manager, respective apps alone will be shown on your Launchpad. So that makes your work easy. So you will focus only on the things which you need. So So there are like, if you see, there are lakhs of T codes, but the number of Fiori apps as on date are 12,000. So there is a huge gap in, you don't have all the scenarios supporting in Fiori. So there is lots of gap. So when custom scenarios are coming into picture, where customer needs some custom use case which they want to have both solution available, where they want to have access in the GUI as well as they want to access in the Fiori app as well, because that is very easy for the end user. Whereas they need the data available and they need the T code as well. So you have both mixed scenarios here. So so how the transition happened is, uh, there they SAP has played a smart role here. If you see in ERP, Oracle DB is the dominating one in the database space, and SAP has understood that half of the revenue is being taken away by Oracle, and even Oracle has their own ERP suite, and they wanted to badly need to have the command in database. So what is this SAP HANA database, in-memory database, they started pushing, and they kept a simple catch. Sir, if you're using Oracle DB, you can pretty much use, but you cannot use any of the analytical apps which we ship along with our Fiori. So only transactional apps and fact sheet apps can be consumed if you are using non SAP database. When I say non SAP database, if you are using Oracle DB, you cannot use analytical apps. So you can use only transactional apps. So uh, initially people were reluctant whether to switch to HANA immediately. But with S4 HANA, what they did is it comes by default with SAP HANA. So you have no choice. So people don't business are not actually facing any issue in holding in HANA now. So there is no question of debate about whether I should use Oracle or HANA. So by default with S4 HANA, everybody started using HANA. That's how the game of from Oracle it snatched with HANA as a database, default database. Now, as they positioned as a separate thing, like analytical apps works on SAP HANA, so that gave a additional push for SAP Fiori. So this is how the game was till date. Even now, that's how the game is going on. In Fiori 3, cloud products, I'll show you a quick snapshot. So this is how the Fiori 3 looks. So only tiles you used to see. Now we have something called UI cards. This is not overview page. These are UI cards. Where with UI cards you can see snapshot from all the cloud products as well as from the S4 HANA products. So if you want to have some analytics, etc., you can directly, the moment you log in, you can see. And this is where the Copilot stands. On a single click of it, the Copilot opens. And if you want to take any action, you can take action directly from here. And you can approve from the main screen itself. You need not to dig deep into the applications as well. This is how the Fiori 3 is going to be positioned. And this is even this in 2020 edition also, it's not yet released all the features. Gradually they will be pushing the Fiori 3 features in coming quarters as such. So to give a quick glance, this is how Fiori 3 looks. So complete revamp of existing way. So let me show you quick demo of how we have and then how 3 has. So you are familiar, say like this is how we are having currently. Currently all the Fiori apps we are using even today. So you have each tile, etc. And we have these scenarios. But going forward, this is been, drastically they are making these apps also they are making smart. When I say smart, based on AI, what they do is like if frequently you are using specific vendor for to purchase specific item, etc., they'll show you based on star rating, etc., or etc., they'll filter the list automatically. So we can filter the list based on top rated products. So out the same product, if you have multiple sellers, etc., we can use AI training. We can train a model. We have something called SAP API Business Hub, so using which there are like some APIs available. So specifically one popular application which SAP has demonstrated in recent TechEd 2020 as well was service ticket intelligence, where service ticket intelligence is about if if you have a uh, so customer care executive who is using an application, he has to answer the call in the call he got some query and he has to answer it. So it will automatically point to the best solution or the call records, etc., what are the frequently asked questions, and based on it it can directly identify the relevant you know answer which will be suitable to the customer. So that way AI and machine learning capabilities can help. Okay, so this is now what I'm trying to present is like this is how the Fiori exists, and the future is going to look in this way. So where you're going to have lots of analytical cards as well, and we should be able to design these kind of solutions, and we should be able to integrate as well to meet this scenario. One quick advantage here was I'll just show you what more change with Fiori 3. So that will be the game changer. Right. Yes. So if you can see this snapshot, so this is how Ariba product UI looks, and this is how the field glass looks. And S4 HANA, we just now what we are seeing is S4 HANA product, and S4 HANA looks this way. And we have similarly other products as well, which SAP has invested heavily. And all these are having different UI look. With S4 HANA, we know that Fiori is the default UI look, etc., for all the end users facing as such. With Fiori 3, what they have made a bold decision was they're going to have all these applications having going to be integrated with the Launchpad. In the Launchpad, on the top right corner, there'll be a thumbnail, just like how we use access Gmail, etc., in our Google. So now you click on this thumbnail, you'll access all the SAP cloud products as well. So Launchpad is going to be the central way where on the Launchpad you'll see the analytics of all the cloud products as well as your UF applications. So this is how the SAP Fiori is going to be game changer in Fiori 3.0. Okay, we'll have a central launchpad. Usually customer solutions, be it any solution, they can access all the analytics of it. They can start accessing intelligent apps as well. So those all are like very relatively new. I'm not saying that all applications and all customers are going to need those use cases, but lots of improvements in terms of end users accessing simplifications are being done in Fiori 3 as such. So this is about all about today's session, etc. If you have any questions, etc., or if you have any other concerns, etc., please let me know.
No, no, it's clear to me. Yeah, it's a really good session. I understand about more about Fiori 3. So yeah, it's quite means it's lots of change in Fiori 2 or Fiori
Right,
compared to yes, yeah. So means they are now SAP is more focused on about web technology
correct,
how yeah because it's a now huge competition for other technologies as well. So that's why they are doing and I think they are making better UI.
right. So they want to leverage the outside developer community as well. There is so reason being is SAP if it bridges the gap. See, Salesforce, if you see in CRM space, it's doing more inroads. And likewise in the SuccessFactors product is SAP product. Similarly, we have something called Workday. Okay,
Yes, yes.
so there are like competition is ever increasing. See, if it has acquired a product, but the competitors are also rising their market share. Okay, so compelling reason for SAP is if it provides now, if you say we stick with only our SAP community, so you are ignoring half of the world. All the outside cloud people, what they're doing is Java is open source. If you see, there are like lots of Java developer community. You have quick community who can you can onboard to build solutions for any of the if you are using Workday or success, any other product, cloud product, Ariba, etc. So even SAP needs Java developers. And if you say that my Java developers, they know this, but they don't SAP. And you say that SAP people, we have SAP people who can build on S4 HANA, but they cannot work on Ariba product. You're understanding, right? Within SAP space, there is a conflict of developer ecosystem. So how can it bridge that gap? So they need a level playing ground. So for that, they're introducing uh, tools and etc. programming languages where whichever language you're building, you SAP should enable you both the flavors. Now, how this RAP or CAP were change the game for the web spaces. If you see you are coming from non-SAP background, like you're purely from Java background, then you can directly build your application in Java. You need not worry. And as long as it looks in the same way as you are able to integrate and you have, if you same user experience, if you are giving to SAP customer is very much happy. He doesn't bother whether you are building in UFI, whether you're building in ABAP, whether you're building in Java. All he needs is his solution to be built. So these tools allow us to read the data from any database, and they allow us to build application on any language. And at the end of the day, customer should see single entry point, and from single entry point he should be able to consume his applications, and the look and feel for all the applications should be the seamless and same. So that is the whole object of SAP. This way twin problems are being solved. Customer, he doesn't see any change in whether he's using Ariba product or he's using S4HANA product. Both places he'll have seamless experience. And for the developers as well, you are flexible. Whether you're coming from ABAP background, there are like certain approaches you have to follow. If you want to build Fiori applications, you can follow Fiori elements approach, where you need not to master all the skill sets of UI area. So you can follow your own area, but it has its own limitations. You cannot build all the solutions. You can build pretty much 50% of the use cases. So that's how it's providing tools, and those tools are also evolving. Going forward, we might see better developer tools which will allow us to play a bigger game in whole SAP ecosystem. So I think this is about it. And one more place where so all the sessions code snippets I'll share on GitHub and I'll provide. And each week we'll what are use cases on the Monday to Friday we discuss. I ask to practice on Saturday, Sunday, and on the Monday we'll discuss on how we have that use case we have built, etc. So every week at the end of the week we'll try to have one use case. The skills learned on Monday, Friday we'll try to apply in that use case, and we'll have one specific project related to it. So that's how we'll have this project. So where in week one, week one, week two, etc. So the projects which are we're dealing it. So all those project codes, etc. will place it. So week one we'll discuss what are topics. Those will be in week one. Week two, whatever we have discussed, that will place in week two, etc. All this at the end of the course. At least if we how many our GitHub repositories we are able to push. That means that much skills we have acquired. Practical, real applications when you're pushing it. If we have only without having hands-on, if the GitHub repository is empty, that means code snippet, etc. we have to practice much more. So that's how we'll be able to understand the concepts in detail. And all the videos also I share in all the recordings. Every day we'll record the sessions, etc. and all the recordings will be available, and you can access on a dedicated space. And we'll have one forum as well where we can discuss any questions you're practicing or you're stuck. So whenever we're free, we'll connect and we'll try to close it. Or every day morning we'll try to close those concepts. So whether you're stuck, etc., all those we'll try to close the concepts. And currently they're like in English as well as in Telugu, both areas I try to teach. And for English session currently 7 a.m. to 8 a.m. one batches are already going on. And for them the week one course has been completed. Like week one course in sense like web development basics. So they are in the where now just now I'm discussing about just started with Fiori architecture. So if you are already clear with architecture etc concept, then additional concepts for if you need additional support for web development basics, if you're comfortable or not comfortable, then we'll take up additional hours in separately we can start, and you can join that batch. Or if you want to start for fresh, then the new batch will be starting on April 15th. So April 15th the Telugu edition batch where the track will be completing on 9th of April, and by 15th I'll have additional bandwidth for time to take up fresh classes again. So right now both the tracks are already running, and the other track already they're near completion. Now they are doing project etc. And now the other batch in English currently they just started just recently. So they are just in the architecture phase. So just they covered the basics of 1 week and they are just starting there. So if any other questions or anything you want to ask me,
No, all things are clear to me. Yeah, it's really good session because I'm in a background, so it's a backend. It's already fine for me. Yeah, but I need to learn front end part because future everything goes on Fiori application. So so I will think about I will start fresh or I will start that already you started the batch. 1 week is gone, So I'll think about that and I'll let you know about
Sure.
how I can start.
Sure. So if
Yeah.
you want to continue straight away also, there is what I can do is like 7 to 8 you can have this class
Mm.
continue joining with, because we just started with architecture, so architecture also we'll do live practice as such, so that you can continue, and 8 to 9 you can take up the for the first 1 week, so additional hour where we'll cover the web development basics. That is nowhere related to Fiori because those are like brush up
Yes.
skills.
Yeah.
So because that is good to have. If you're not having familiar with web development, then understanding that brush up skills is recommended generally.
Mm.
So those are not related to UFI. So they are pretty much they deal with JavaScript, how exactly we have to code in JavaScript, how exactly CSS, what all things we have to remember, or what basic things we need to understand, etc. So we'll more concentrate on web development basics. So why actually browser based tools are this much popular, so those things we'll come to understand. And about frameworks generally, why the trend goes in going towards, so UFI is just a framework, it is based on JavaScript. So similarly Angular is also based on JavaScript only. It is pushed by Google, and we have different trends. uh, we cannot say, see, today this is the trending one, tomorrow it could be some other thing. Okay, so because of machine learning, Python came into mainstream.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so any technology comes all of a sudden. We cannot predict which one will be.
Yeah. Now is recipe is transition phase, so we can't any we cannot predict anything. It will because every earlier we were using web ID. Now recently they are starting business studio application studio.
Correct.
So in future maybe something else will come.
Right, right. So we'll try to keep our skills relevant for at
Yeah,
least for
yeah,
the coming
yeah.
5 to 10 years. That's it.
Because we are in SAP, so we need to up to date ourselves.
Right.
Yeah, so one more thing is we are using which tool in BS or Visual Studio or what? Yeah,
We'll use the
all
Business Hub
together.
Studio. So we'll use the Visual Studio Code and Business Hub Studio, both are same. So in Eclipse, if you are using it, Eclipse and HANA Studio both are same. Eclipse
Yes,
is flavored one with HANA Studio with all
yes, yes,
SAP flavor.
yeah.
Right.
Okay.
So same Visual
So
Studio and Business Hub Studio only will be using it.
yeah,
Both
yeah.
are
I think
newer tools.
BS created a top of a Visual
Correct.
Studio, right?
Correct. Correct.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. Okay.
So we're
Okay.
not going WebID at all. WebID, it's gone. No, because
Yeah,
SAP
it's
has
gone because its
transitioned.
trial version is now it's not available. So only those are in paid version. Now it's available.
Correct, correct. So
Yeah.
they haven't officially stopped it because customers already paid for it. They're using it. So still it is in game. But newer customers who all are, already SAP has asked to move to SAP
But
Business Studio.
business application studio, it's beta version or still it is because I have seen a couple week ago it was something different. Now I check in 2 3 days ago. Now it looks little different.
Lots of things SAP is changing. So it's not very stable product. If you ask me frankly, Business Studio is not stable product.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
6 months back
Then-
they launched it, and from in 2 months back in the trial edition they removed WebID and they made Business Studio as a default
Yes,
IDE. And if you see, they're changing name. Cloud platform, they renamed into Business Technology Platform, and they're renaming and rebranding it. And even Business Studio also, in January, what are the features were shipped, all were removed and they are now deprecated. And it changed a lots of things in Business Hub Studio as well. Okay, so things can be stable only after 6 months. Mid of 2021, you'll see a stable Business Hub Studio. Okay, but we'll focus on Business Hub Studio itself. So we'll try to build all our solutions on Business Hub Studio, because any new changes comes, etc., we need to understand how do we build applications using those new tools only.